Hey Bob, how are you doing? I'm
Good. Hi.
Julia.
Hi,
Hey,
Juliana. Nice to meet you in person. So,
you also. You also. Thanks for attending.
sure.
So do you have a career in environmental issues or?
Yeah, I do. I guess for over 30 years, I've been in the environmental consulting world.
Great,
Um, my academic background is meteorology that kind of evolved into air pollution issues.
great.
And then over time, I've got involved in, excuse me, remediation, brownfields development, due diligence, compliance, a little bit of everything.
Great.
And then on the personal side, some years ago, I was on the Sierra Club Executive Committee in New Jersey.
Oh,
Um,
really? Hmm,
yeah, so I was on that side of the fence for a while as well.
that's great.
So yeah,
That's great.
I've been doing it for a long time.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. So you've been aware of the WEC, but just never really approached or?
Yeah, I mean, we came up here in 2003 as part-timers
Mhm.
from the city. My wife's father was up here was an artist, and over time we spent more and more time here. And then within the last year or so, particularly now with the pandemic, I'm here full time. Um,
As we all are, right?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Um, and my neighbor Joni Elliott, who's had told me about it as well over time,
Mhm.
that this would be a good fit for me.
Right.
So
So you live here in Woodstock, obviously, right?
yeah, I do.
Good. Okay. Very good. All right.
Hi.
Alex.
Erin has asked me to let you guys know that she's running a little late and to please start without her.
Okay. We will do that. So, hey, David.
Where do you see
Here we
to?
go. Hey, Nick. Hey, Ken.
Hello,
Hello. Hello.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Good
you.
evening.
Yep.
Okay.
So, everybody, we have a guest this evening, Bob Wolf, who will be auditing and has an environmental background, and we'll see how things go. Yeah, great.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, David, how are you?
Bien, merci à vous.
Hi.
So we have a very full agenda. We'll try to get through it. So Alex, I heard today from Ingrid, who was less than thrilled that she'd lost 3 of us for the meeting tomorrow. She's willing to do it at 5. Would that help you at all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
do 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
You know what?
Oh,
I unexpectedly have a school-related parent Zoom thing
that's
tomorrow
not
that I
right.
just found out about. So no, I won't.
Oh God. All right. Well,
Sorry.
we knew about this for weeks, and she's, she's doing this for the town. It's not like, this is fun for her. But anyway, all right.
I
Julie
could
at
do,
7. So,
no, it's
you know.
4 to 6. I could do 7.
No, she said up until 6 o'clock. So,
Sorry, we got hit with it unexpectedly yesterday.
okay.
So,
All right. All right.
uh,
All right.
Julie at 7 o'clock, just so you know.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm calling to order a regular meeting of the Woodstock Environmental Commission on Wednesday, August 19th at 7 p.m. Members attending are David, Erin, Alex, Nick, Julia, Arlene. Yes, Arlene, great, terrific. All right. So I'm sorry, Erin is not with us yet. She's going to be here in a few minutes, apparently. Our guests include Ken Panza, Bob Wolf. I guess Laura is not here, and I think that's it for the moment. Do we have anyone else who cares to speak up? There are a couple of iPad 2. I'm not sure who that is. Stephanie Bryant? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Mr.
Does
Wolf, do you
everyone?
prefer Bob or Robert?
I'm
Bob.
sorry?
Do you prefer Bob or Robert?
Bob, B-O-B.
Okay.
Hi, it's Kathy Ruttenberg, iPad 2, and I'm trying to figure out how to put my name on it.
Oh, okay. Your
Yeah.
iPad too. All right. Well, we
Yeah.
can, do you have
Thank
video or
you.
do you care to join by video?
I just sent you an email saying I've been working hard all day.
Oh,
and-
yeah, you got it. Okay.
And
no
I would
problem.
love to present
Just
myself.
audit is fine.
I'd
So,
like to present my
Kathy,
the first time.
approach-
You look so beautiful. So next time I'd like to dress up and look nice. So
So anyway, Laura, thanks for joining us. That's great.
hi.
So Kathy is going to be auditing. She is very interested in the dance scammer issues in particular. So that's one of the items we'll cover, but she might be interested in some of the other issues we're covering as well. So that's
Is
good.
that iPad 2, Laura, Julia?
Yes,
Kathy-
Kathy, Ruttenberg.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kathy with a K or a C?
Kathy with a K.
Thank you.
Okay, does everyone have a copy of the draft agenda for this evening? Is there anything you'd like to add? Otherwise, we'll go with it as it is. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Arlene, thank you. Second?
I will.
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
his name.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, the agenda is adopted. So has everyone had a chance to review David's draft minutes for the July 15th meeting?
Yes.
Yep. Any changes needed?
No,
No? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll do it again.
Arlene, great, thank you. Second?
Yep,
Yep,
seconded.
Alex, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the minutes are approved. Correspondence, I picked up the mail today and the budget remaining is $340. No surprise there. There were several documents regarding a dispute about the lead agency for the Woodstock Library's environmental review. This is the expansion they're doing and it's the SECRA. The Woodstock Library Public District had been named as the lead agency, which I found pretty surprising because it's like self-dealing, right? Isn't that like you're you're reviewing yourselves?
Yeah.
So the planning board quite rightly stepped in and said, no, we think we should be the lead agency. So we have stacks of paper about this. We'll let them hash it out. I would imagine it would be resolved so that the planning board will be the lead agency. I can't imagine that won't happen.
Does that have anything to do with us now, Julia? I mean, there's no environmental issue that's on the table to now, is there, other than the fact that there's a seeker?
That's the only thing. That's it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Okay. Anyone have an announcement for this evening? No?
Nope.
Okay, moving on. So the first item on the agenda is the climate smart communities. Now, Ken had suggested that we think about several issues. We have a really, really full agenda, so I don't want to spend an awfully lot of time on this, but we certainly can bring up these issues. One of them that Ken suggested was, what does the commission see as the future role for the task force? In other words, once we get this finished, and I guess by the end of the week, Ken, this is right, we're going to be, we'll know if the Woodstock achieved its bronze status, is that right?
Yeah, we should know by the end of the week, or at least by next Monday. They're starting to add some information to the response. They responded to our to two items: the government operations greenhouse gas emissions, which they didn't approve last time because we didn't have enough information about methane and nitrous oxide.
I'm sorry, did they approve it this time?
Stated all that. Pardon me?
Did they approve it this time?
Well, they haven't approved. They approved these two items.
Oh, okay.
At
Yeah,
this
well,
point.
that's
I mean,
good,
that-
right?
You know, the formal approval doesn't come out probably until next Monday.
Okay,
You know,
Okay.
stuff is dribbling in and out now that
but we're heading in the right direction, right?
well, I mean, they updated. They didn't approve it last time, our government operations greenhouse gas inventory, and this time they did, based on update with the methane and the nitrous oxide and giving them a lot more detail. They also approved what's, pledge element number 10, which is our greenhouse gas tracking system. Last time, again, it was the issue of not having methane and nitrous oxide in there, but we've so they've approved those two items on the website, but you know there's still more to be done. So we'll watch it as it rolls out this
Okay.
week.
All right, good. Thanks.
Viewpoint of what the next tasks are for the task force. I mean, we have this resolution from the town board that assigned 3 responsibilities. You know, the first one was really getting the bronze level certification based on what we did for the not the climate smart, but the greenhouse, the carbon neutral activities.
Right.
And also on what the Environmental Commission did on the, you know, the high impact items and the other, the lights and so between those 2 sets of activities, you know, we documented those and submitted them, and that was our last submission. But they, you know, we've also assigned work with the Woodstock Highway Department and Building Department to define a hazard migration plan that will prepare Woodstock for an environment and increasing heavy rainfall, flooding, and that, you know, that falls into one of the categories of the climate smart, but that's not an area that we've focused on at this point. So the question back to the WEC is now, what does the WEC want to do next?
Well, I think we ought to address that. That's pretty important when you say, everyone.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we should not disband the group. I think this should be something we bring up every single time, and whatever it is that we need to be
you know, the group
focused
has to
on
have
like
something
this.
to do. And it would, you know, is this the right group for
Well, that's true too.
this hazard migration? I mean, it may be necessary to reorganize the group, to have people that are interested in this topic.
Sure,
You know, I
sure.
don't know what the interest from the WEC is, membership of participating in these sorts of things, but you know, it's a whole different, and you know, what maybe the WEC decides we don't want to do that. We want to do something else. So it's
Can
No.
I make a suggestion?
reflection point here, and
Aaron's not here right now,
and
right?
need to decide what to do next.
Right.
Can we wait until the next meeting when we have less
Yeah.
bulk?
Yeah, okay.
And
But everybody be thinking about it in the meantime.
right, because I
Okay.
think this is a really good thing that we do have to follow up on, and it might be a different group of people, but can we plan what that group of people is
Yeah.
and that one specific item next meeting when we have time?
Right.
Well, this
Maybe
is a
we'll be
major
celebrating
item
by
for
then,
Woodstock environment. I mean, this is the one of the number of things that the Environmental Commission is supposed to be focusing on. If something has to drop off the agenda, you know, it shouldn't be the climate smart stuff.
Well, I'm not saying it's dropping off. I'm saying when Aaron is here for the next meeting, we can sit and we can talk about it and plan it out.
Well, Aaron's been driving it, so.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right, since Aaron's
Okay.
been driving it, it would make sense to have her as part of the discussion.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And the next meeting's in 2 weeks, right? Because going back
That's
to
right.
twice a month
Mhm.
now. So it's
Yep.
not waiting a whole month for the
No,
conversation.
that's right. The next one is September
September
2nd.
2nd.
Okay,
Right.
good
So
idea.
it's not a killer the way.
Yeah, okay, good. So let's move on then under the circumstances to the natural resources inventory. I think, Arlene, before you joined us, I mentioned to Alex that Ingrid was, I think, a little bit upset that we had 3 people drop off for tomorrow from the WEC. I know you can't help it, no.
You know,
She
I
was-
wasn't at the last meeting when you guys planned the time for this
No, I
meeting.
know. Okay.
And I
She was
work.
asking if 5 o'clock would help. Could you do it at 5
Actually,
tomorrow?
I could probably do 5 o'clock. I could definitely do 5 o'clock, but
Okay, how
I'm
about you?
gonna try to sneak out for 2 o'clock.
I prefer 5. How about you, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, 5's fine.
I could
Okay.
do 4:30 to, well, no, actually, wait, take that back, because Maxanne's now coming over tomorrow afternoon to work with me on the NRI writing. So why don't we keep it to 2 o'clock and I'll be there at 2.
All right, thank you.
I'll just,
Thank
you know, I'm just gonna act like I'm not working and
Yeah.
call into a
Okay, well, I
meeting.
appreciate it.
Or
Thank
act
you.
like I am working.
Right, of course.
Julie, is that a meeting that I should be at or would want to be at, or what's the meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, then, have you attended those before? The natural resource inventory? We've been doing this since January, and we've been given assignments. Tomorrow is when we we tell everybody what we've been able to accomplish. So if you were not going to be able to attend, I was going to ask you to be able to tell Ingrid tomorrow, have you been able to do anything on your assignment? So,
Well, I'm meeting with Max at 3:30.
yeah, to do it. Okay. All right. So, right.
Arlene, how did you swing that?
Maxanne?
Sorry? Oh, yeah, right. That's good.
Yeah, I want her help too.
I invited her over for a glass of wine.
There you go. There you go. That'll do it.
So wait, okay, so the
I've
meeting
known
is
her
set
for
for 2 p.m.
years.
tomorrow? Is that what I'm
It
writing?
always
in the
has been.
minutes?
Yeah. Mhm,
Okay.
that's right. It'll
What are we
stay
going
at
to be able to
2.
report tomorrow? I mean,
Alex,
Yeah.
what can I tell Ingrid about you've got the sheet, right? You know what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes, I'm doing the steep slopes.
Yeah. Topography,
piece,
bedrock,
and
superficial.
yeah, I'm like not very far.
Okay.
But I have of like the actual writing. My kids start school on Monday, however, so I think that my time is going to be a little more
I'll tell her there's hope.
available. Yeah. And I'm going to try, I wrote in her email, like, I'm going to try to be there tomorrow. It's just because
Yeah,
I never know
course.
when I have to deal with people.
I
I'm
know,
probably going to
sure.
be like very in and out on
Okay.
mute.
All right. Well, if you're not going to be there, please send her a few lines, or actually copy me in too. Let us know where you are in writing. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All
My
right.
face will be there.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah,
Erin she wasn't really part of the core group in the beginning, and I know she was going to do agricultural resources. So I'll try to get in touch with her and find out where she is. All right. Ken, you had a couple of other suggestions. I think does that cover what you had suggested, Ken, about what we should do tonight?
well, I mean, right. I mean, we should have some conclusion what we're going to present to Ingrid tomorrow. And it looks like, we got a couple of sections which are well along and a couple of sections which really haven't been started yet.
Jim and I finished ours. We submitted them long ago. So the
I'm
whole
a very quick
introduction.
writer.
Yeah, I have the
Executive
water
session.
resources
sorry?
done. I have the water resources done, and
I know, Ken, you're a star.
The watershed, which they kind of upped the requirement because they added, instead of just doing the saw kill, they wanted me to do the beaver kill and the little beaver kill. And, I'll have that done by Labor Day. And I submitted a rough draft to Ingrid so she could take a look at the direction I'm taking. And you got a copy, Julia.
I did. It's really good stuff. Thank you,
Could you
Ken,
send
so
it
much,
to
really.
me, Julia? Because could you send it to me? There's something about like keeping consistent about writing. And
I'm not
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
send it to
indeed there
anyone
is.
but
Yeah.
Ingrid until it's done.
So maybe
but it's for me,
Ingrid,
because if I'm writing something, I want to see what you've written, Julia.
yeah,
I
of
wanna see
course,
what
of
Ken's
course.
Well, you're gonna have
Okay,
to write
I'll-
without saying what I wrote.
written.
So Ken, you're
I
going
mean,
to
you
send
haven't
Arlene
written
what you
anything
have,
yet,
right?
so there's no reason for you to look at my stuff.
Ken, I'm a writer. My background is writing. When
Well,
I've
write
written things,
something then.
yes, but I like to see what
Ooh,
other people write.
zinger.
Well, we've
Nasty.
had 2 months to
All
work
right, let's
on
keep
it.
it civil, guys.
No, I
Sure.
haven't had 2 months because I wasn't at the last meeting and this was assigned to me without any explanation. So how's that?
Well,
That's true.
And so I'm working it with Max.
work it out with Max, but don't ask for.
Arlene, okay, Ken, we covered it. Arlene, I'll
Yeah.
send you my portion,
Thank
okay?
you very much. I
Yep.
appreciate it.
It has to do with tone and matching tone, right?
Yes.
Yes, yes, I
style.
get it. All right. Okay. We're moving on to the Pollinator Pathways Project. So Alex, this is usually you to bring us up to date if there's anything new. I know they wanted to use the grounds at the community center. Is that on or?
Yes. So the meeting has been moved. Usually it's right before this, and I have more updated information for you guys, but it's been moved to Thursdays, so I'm not sure. But they want to use the grounds at the, what's it called? The rec center.
Community center, yeah.
Yeah,
Recre field,
for the
recreation field.
seed
Sure.
exchange, I said I would reach out to them, but I needed more information about the timing and what space they needed and where they wanted to plan it and things like that, which I have not heard back about yet.
Hmm.
That event is supposed to be October 3rd.
Yeah.
And
So that'll
so
be Andy Lee Field. So is that what they want to use, as Andy Lee Field?
So like that's what I was trying to get clarification about before I asked, but whether it's the field or the parking lot or like what they need and when they need it. I know it's the 3rd, but the time, it seems hasn't been decided yet.
Right.
And so the meeting's tomorrow. So I'll probably have more information about that tomorrow. The 7th
There's a pavilion there also. They may want to use the pavilion. There's a parking lot, the pavilion, and then the field, and actually the playground equipment and the tennis courts. But anyway, there is also a pavilion they may want to use.
I think Maxanne is also looking into using the parking lot at the Woodstock Playhouse. So it was
Okay, cool.
it was
So-
a toss up between those two.
Alex, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're not done. When you're done.
Oh, and then on the 7th of October, there's going to be another presentation, the one that we had emailed about, Julia, the Doug Tallamy presentation. Right. So if anyone is unfamiliar with who that is, he's like
the guru of pollinators.
Sort of like the father of ecological landscaping, I guess maybe you would say. And he's written a number of really great books, and he is going to be speaking. They got some donations for to go towards paying him, and then they're going to sell tickets, but I think it'll be like $5 or something like that for the ticket to cover the rest of his fee. But it's one that I would recommend everyone attending who's interested, because he's awesome.
Is this October 7th presentation?
It's October 7th, yeah. And again, I don't know when.
I'm sorry, who's it by?
His name is Doug, and then his last name is Tallamy, which is spelled T like tree, A-L-L-A-M-Y.
Okay, great. So we have that. We have a meeting tomorrow at the community center. What time?
No, the meeting tomorrow is just their Zoom meeting.
Okay, Zoom.
And I'm going to try to get more details from them about what they want from the community center and when they want it, so that we can ask if we can.
And what time is that Zoom meeting tomorrow?
It's at 5:30.
Okay, and then there's a meeting on October 3rd somewhere to be determined.
It's a seed exchange.
On the 3rd.
Is an event that they are planning, a seed and seedling, maybe exchange isn't the right word, because you don't have to bring something to take something, but
still an exchange. So, and that's October 3rd at a location to be determined.
At a time to be determined, yeah.
And time and location. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
That's it.
The other thing I forgot to mention about the natural resources inventory is we have hit upon Monday, the 5th of October from 7 to 8 to have the presentation to the entire town of Woodstock about the NRI. Okay. So we should all put that on our calendar. Please be available to be part of that.
What time?
7 to 8.
7 to 8.
Will that be Zoom, and who will be invited? But who will be invited?
Everybody in the
Woodstock.
town who's interested.
So are you going to invite them through Facebook, or how are you going to communicate?
Well, yeah, that's a good question.
What does that matter?
How are you going to
Why are we,
communicate that?
who cares?
No, it's important. And somebody like, I guess me, will have to get a flyer together, and then I'll have to get it out to everybody in the whole world. But I'm sure we can get people to help with their lists, so.
And it would be a
We'll be talking
Zoom
about
meeting?
tomorrow.
A public meeting to publicize it, and that's what this October 5th meeting is.
I'm sorry, Ken?
There's a requirement for
Right.
to present the NRI. And so
Okay.
It's not just another working group, it's the
No, exactly. It's presenting it to the town and asking
presenting it to the
for
town and the public, and
input and asking for interest and all of those things.
sort of like a public hearing, but virtual.
Will it still be Zoom?
Yes, absolutely.
Do we know if it'll be Zoom? Zoom. Okay.
Zoom.
Okay. Well, I mean, I certainly can be, I can be announcing it at town board meetings. We can be requesting that the press publicize it in the press.
Right.
So yeah, so we can, I'm happy to help. Let me put it that way.
Thank you very much. As soon as I get a flyer together, I'll forward it to you. Okay. Thanks, Laura. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Sounds good.
Let's see. All right, so let's talk now about the web page that we
Julia?
might
Julia?
develop. And Alex, you had sent around a wonderful example.
Julia,
Julia?
before that? I don't
Julie,
know
what
if you
happened
saw-
to Dan
Did
Scammer?
I skip something? Oh, I'm
Dan
sorry.
Scammer? Sort of
Yeah.
like
Yeah, just dance scammer, nothing big.
nothing big, right?
Julia,
Yes.
Ashley just said, if you send her the flyer, she'll post it to the town Facebook and website.
I'm sorry, who said that?
I think it's
Ashley.
Ashley.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Terrific, thank you. Yep, that's great.
So, yeah, so there's several ways to publicize it, and thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Julia,
sorry.
can we add into that, you know, I'm in charge of getting people to submit photographs to be part of this project.
Yes,
I don't think there's a point in asking for them until people even know what it is.
I
that-
agree with you, and you know, I'm not sure we need to. We
But,
may not need to do that, Alex.
okay, I mean, just if we decide we want to, maybe that's something that can go into that flyer and that
It
ask.
could, maybe we give people a chance to give us something for the cover, for example, if people really want to be part of it, that would be great.
Yeah,
But, you
I just
know-
didn't feel like it made sense to do it now when people are gonna have no idea what we're even
You're
talking
right.
about
It
because they
does.
haven't seen it.
Anyway, with Arlene, I think we're covered, you know, pretty much with photos. No, we've got some really good photos ourselves, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so Dan Scammer. Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're well on our way to thoroughly researching this. It was great that Aaron set up that meeting yesterday. The next one is next Wednesday, the 26th at 3 o'clock.
And there's no
Alex?
chance of changing that time.
No, I'm sorry, David, there isn't. Is there,
Okay.
Alex? I mean, she couldn't do it any later, right?
It seemed that was the time that between all of us was the one.
But if it could be 3:15, that would help David, right, David?
Yeah, yes.
How did we leave it with her?
You left it with me telling me that
Yeah.
she said 3 or she said 2:30.
She said 3 or she said 2:30. I think taking into account how much time, you know, she's planning on doing, I think, 20 minutes with us and then a little bit of question and answer time.
Right.
I don't think though, David, and I could be wrong, but my sense is that there isn't a slide element involved. So that if you wanted to join just on audio, that you probably would get the full
Oh, right. Okay, good. That's
effect
fine.
of the
That handles it.
presentation.
Thank you. That's great. If you give me a call-in number, that'll handle everything I need.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll have to try to generate one. I did the Zoom and there was nothing popped out in terms of audio, but I'll just have to work on that.
Yeah, well, and please
Bet
include me
Ashley
on the
knows.
Zoom.
Erin
bet
just
Ashley
texted
knows.
me and said her link is not working to this meeting. Is she trying to get in? Do you know?
Aaron?
I've been watching for her to pop in, but I haven't seen her come up.
Ashley, can you generate a call-in number for a Zoom meeting?
There is a call-in number.
It would
Great.
have to be set up on the same.
Don't worry,
meeting.
I'll deal with it, David. Don't worry about it.
Thank
I'll
you.
get it.
Thank you very much.
Calling
So
numbers that come
Julie-
right on the Zoom invitation.
I'm sorry. So Julie, will you be able to invite me to that meeting on the 26th?
sure
at 3
will.
o'clock? Okay, I'm adding to my calendar right now.
That's great. I'll
And
send you the
You think
Zoom.
it'll take about an hour?
No, I think less, right, Alex?
Yeah, she said about 20 minutes and then she
Oh.
would give us, like 10 minutes for questions. So it would be about half an hour.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
How do
Okay.
I?
Shall we move on, or do you want to say anything more about
Um,
dance camera right now?
We haven't said anything. We have said nothing other than when's the next meeting.
Only the last 2 days, full
See, I just
time.
keep printing
That's all.
things out and reading opposite opposing things, and it's
So I want to say something on dance camera.
Mhm.
I went into the meeting, I went into the Zoom meeting thinking I was going to be absolutely against, in favor of the resolution opposing dance camera, and I'm nowhere near that now. I am, first of all, it looks like there's a lot of time for us to get involved in anything we decide. If we decide we're against it, there's a lot of time. Second thing is, a lot of the opposition I hear is, oh, we hate frack gas. And I hate frack gas more than anyone else. I've been fighting that goddamn fight for longer than most of you have been alive. Oh, okay, that's not true. But still, I'm against frack gas. There's no way you can tell Central Hudson or Dance Camera you cannot use frack gas, because Central Hudson gets its gas from wherever the heck is the cheapest place to get the gas. Now, unless you tell Central Hudson, you mandate that by state law, you must buy a more expensive gas than you can otherwise get, they're going to buy frack gas when it's the cheapest. So take the idea that you can oppose frack gas as a reason for opposing dance camera. That's just BS. Second thing, Nick, I see you nodding in agreement. You should. Yeah, I know. And I know you've done some research on this yourself. And I did I did some digging in on this. So the time element says there's no need for us to act now. The idea that we're opposing it because we're opposed to frack gas is just BS. The idea that, so what I'm concerned about, what I expressed on the call and in several emails, is that there are assumptions that Dance Camera is making about what's the state of the art, and will the state of the art today be the state of the art in 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years? And the answer to that is no. There's always another genius. There's always a better solution. There's always a better mousetrap. And it's just a question of someone figuring out what and where the mousetrap is, so that we can avoid things like Dance Camera. In the meantime, what I see from what I heard, with no opposition from anyone, is that if we enable Dance Camera, in 2 years or so it'll take it to get up and running. The consequence is not going to be, oh, we're going to be using more frack gas, or oh, we're going to have another, we're going to be putting more carbon in the air. What's going to happen is they're going to take off some dirtier power plants and put on a cleaner power plant. And that is a benefit. As far as I am concerned, that is a benefit. So for those reasons, I am not in favor of voting to support the resolution opposing Dance Camera.
Yeah,
I have
and
spoken.
if I could speak for a moment too, I agree with what you're saying. First of all, I am so glad I brought this question to the WEC, because everybody here was right on to say, we're going to investigate. We've only heard one side. We're going to hear both sides. And that was such a perfect answer. And I thank everybody. I thank the WEC, because I'm so glad I brought this to the WEC, because so much has become known. I agree with you, David. I'd only heard one side, but Dance Camera I thought was excellent. Julie and I were talking a little bit the weeks of Blur, I think it was yesterday. Anyway, to say, well, there are really four options. There are really four options for the WEC. One option is come out and make a statement opposing Dance Camera. One is to come out with a statement in support of Dance Camera. One is say, we're not going to make a statement at all, because there is a New York State entity whose job it is to make the final decision, and they have to do their due diligence, and they'll be researching this in great length over several years. So, so one option is like, we don't take any position, we just let the higher ups do their job. And the fourth idea is, well, we actually don't take a position specifically on Dance Camera, but we do take a position on Woodstock is in support of non-frack gas, Woodstock is in support. So we could, say what we do and don't support without actually making it a Dance Camera statement. And I agree with you, David. At this point in time, I'm not in a hurry to jump and say, oh, we have to oppose Dance Camera, because it may in fact be better for the environment to have Dance Camera and get rid of these less efficient fuel and power plants. So yeah, it may actually be better for the environment in the long run. to have it rather and have less fuel coming from these places that are greater polluters. And that's part of, I think Ken helped us understand that as well. So I'm still listening to hear what the WEC has to say. And we'll listen to the other side officially as a group, the WEC and me as the liaison from the town board. But I was so happy with that presentation. Thank you to Aaron for setting it up, because it was so wonderfully enlightening.
Yeah, thank you, Erin. Thank you, Erin. That was great.
I think when you first asked us about this, you were the one who made it sound like there was a deadline, I guess, and that there was like some time element involved. And I know that was part of why everyone was kind of suddenly rushing to figure this out. So I guess it would be nice to know if that is or is not the case.
Well, it's, I think the case is that if we were going to jumping in when everybody else is jumping in would be the time to do it. But this entity, this New York State entity whose job it is to make the final decision, and they have to do all the homework and all that, it's going to take a while for them to get to it. What Dan Scammer said at the presentation, was it yesterday? Anyway, was that they're still gathering their paperwork. So the decision could be made at any time. It seemed it might have more weight if it's in there when this entity in New York State gets it and they see all the lists of towns that oppose it. It might make sense to be in there before they have that they're looking at, instead of kind of coming in after they were already halfway through their process of review. So there's not a hard and fast deadline. The sooner the better makes sense, but it's not a hard and fast deadline for sure.
And is there, and maybe you don't know the answer to this, but is there a reason that people are expected to make a decision about that before this review? I mean, it seems to me that people who are experts enough to be doing a review would understand some of the more complicated elements of the issue. Like, is there, I guess, do they do why is it not that they do the review and when they say, we think this is a bad idea, other people say, like, listen to that?
Well, I guess I fully understand your question, but I think that what's happening is there's a group that really, really, really opposes it, and they're running around talking to every group that they think that they can get some traction in, every other group who they think can help get on the bandwagon. So I think this opposition, it was probably initiated by a group who really, really, really doesn't want it. Maybe it's in their backyard and they don't want it in their backyard, or for whatever reason, there's a group really, really doesn't want it. And they came to the Woodstock Democratic Committee. That's where I first heard about it. And that's where I heard about the presentation that I went to. So I do think it's kind of I'll call it a grassroots movement who doesn't want it, and they're just trying to get everybody jumping on the bandwagon, where you guys were smart and said, hey, we're going to do our homework. We're not just jumping on the bandwagon because you told me one side of the story. We're going to go for both sides of the story. So some people are jumping on the bandwagon who probably haven't done your homework.
So can I just this is Erin, can you guys hear me?
Yes, and we can see you
now.
And see you
too.
Apologies for being late. Just to kind of hopefully answer Alex's question and maybe elaborate some more on what Laura said. And I want to preface this with, I've spent the past 2 weeks really researching this, and I've learned so much, and I probably know less than 1% of what there is to know. It's amazing. But that being said, so what the part of the process, from what I understand, Alex, they're going through an Article 10, and what it is when they want to do something like this, New York State, before they issue a permit, will make them go through this process. And the process is usually at least a year long, and it's basically that time is an opportunity for people to speak up. So then the question is, why does the town of Woodstock care? Because it's not our backyard. But as to what Laura was saying, if you get more and more people saying, hey, we don't think this is a good idea, then that could hopefully cause an eyebrow to raise, and for them to say, well, before we issue this permit, wait a minute, there's a lot of grassroots efforts saying this is really maybe, here's the other side, or here's some other aspects of it. Does that kind of shed some light?
I guess my question is more like procedural then. Is there time after that Article 10 is completed, between the completion of it and the issuing of the permit, where groups like ourselves would be able to review that assessment by the state and then say, like, we've read what your experts think and we agree or we don't agree that you should issue the permit. Because it seems like, I mean, and like, I think it's a terrible idea to let a bunch of rich people like junk up the air, like with no benefit to anyone except for themselves. So like, but I don't know the science of all of it, and I don't know the economics of all of it enough to feel like my voice is necessarily the most important one to be heard. Is there a time at this point in time, if I read this assessment and it says like, this is terrible for this many reasons, do we then have time to be like, they said this is terrible, don't go ahead and issue this permit? Or is it like simultaneous?
There is a cutoff.
Why the timing is happening right now.
There is a cutoff during the process, but I'm going to default to somebody else on the call, maybe Ken or somebody knows the process a little bit better. I know that once that decision is made, then we don't have time to do this. But given that, we still have about, at least a year. However, I think there was a sense of urgency, and that's why I kind of put my hands up to Laura's presentation, and I said, wait a minute, we're just hearing one side. I wanted to hear both sides so I could feel comfortable supporting or opposing something. And after today, I feel comfortable in my decision. But does anybody else on the call does anyone else on the call know about the whole process? I know there's a cutoff at one point. I don't know if it's when the permit's issued or what. Anyone?
I can give you some background on the Article 10 process.
I know, but I'm interested.
Because
Okay, Ken.
I can give you some background on the Article 10 process because I'm the Ulster County representative to the process. And it started 2 years ago. And the first step was to create what are called stipulations. These are like 40 different types of studies that need to be done. And the usual things, it's the air quality, it's the water, it's the zoning, it's the pollution, that's the emissions, it's, there's 40 different projects that those stipulations were defined, meaning what do we have to study, what's the study area, and those were all debated. And I don't know, it was like the beginning of the year, the stipulations were released. And this was so this is what is going to be studied. These are the studies which are going to be done, which will get submitted to the Article 10 process. Now that's part of the application. There were a couple of outstanding issues that the DEC and the Public Service Commission took with the stipulations. Specifically, the two major issues of interest here would be sea level rise and compliance with the CLCPA, the new law. And I've given you some of that information, at least some of you of that. They replied with how they're going to handle sea level rise, and they have this report that says how they're going to handle what they're going to do to comply with the CLCPA. Those two issues have not yet been accepted by the DEC or the DPS. So at this point, there is not a complete application. Now, once the application is complete, then the Article 10 process starts the way you think of it. This is all these studies which are being done, this truckload of material gets sent to these people to be reviewed by the various agencies of the results. There'll be public hearings as part of that process. You can go and speak at a public hearing about about anything having to do with dance camera. So there's an opening, but the Article 10 process doesn't really start until the application is complete, and the application is not at this point complete. We're probably not too far away from having it complete, but once it's completed, then the Article 10 process starts, and there'll be public hearings which are announced, and you can go talk and complain and listen. But I mean, the amount of material involved is just, it's just enormous.
I would like to just comment that I think that a lot of towns are getting involved in this, whether they are for or against it. But I think as the town of Woodstock, and this might be my own personal opinion, but I feel like okay, so let me backtrack. There's definitely going to be some counties or towns or people who are waiting, who are saying, well, we don't know yet. So we know for a fact Ulster County, Pat Ryan has not weighed in. He's waiting. So maybe they want to see where the cards fall and how much opposition there is. I feel as a town of Woodstock, if we put our stamp on something, we should understand it and we should really believe in it. And because I feel like once we do, I kind of feel like town of Woodstock says something. Like if the town of Woodstock opposes something, it's not good. So I just think that's my personal beef. I think that maybe, people might look to us to say, what's Woodstock going to say? So I think it's important that all of us did what we did. I really feel like everyone on this call has really done their research and we've all taken time out of our busy days to really know what we're talking about as best we can.
Erin, I was able to get just reading everything. I was reading a lot of stuff too, but Dan Scammer had question and answers, and it was very easy. It was a good beginning because it was it led you through their process.
The FAQ, right?
And it was, it's PR, but it was actually quite clear, and it was less PR than I thought it was going to be. But did you find anything in your research about where the state stands on this, or where the state came into this?
I didn't. The only thing I know is, and I'll just make it quick, is I know fracking is illegal in New York.
Well, that
so when they say they're going to frack, they're not going to frack, but
right.
They are going to use gas from an area that allows fracking.
Right.
They're going to buy gas on the spot market, and they're going to get it from the cheapest source. If it's some oil well in the Gulf of Mexico, which I don't think is a great environmental plus, or if it's some drilled well in Texas,
Right.
It's wherever the cheapest. That's where the cheapest.
That's not
unless
just
the state says
There's some
no utility may buy frack gas. If that happens, then you can't.
The Food and Water Watch held this webinar which said the gas is coming from Pennsylvania. That's not true. Matter of fact, the gas is coming down the Iroquois pipeline from Canada. And
Ken?
And not necessarily true, Ken. Go ahead, Erin.
It's not coming from Pennsylvania.
Well, when we had the call with Dan Scammer, Ken, I specifically asked, where are you going to get this gas? And she said, very PR appropriate, well, we don't control where we get the gas. Central Hudson does. However, they will get it from the most efficient, low-cost place. They will get it from one of three places. Pennsylvania, we all know, no. Somewhere off the Gulf of Mexico, or the Iroquois pipeline. The Iroquois pipeline, fracking is not illegal in Canada. And I did some minimal research, Ken, and I don't mean to make you cry, Ken, but I don't like gas that comes from the Iroquois pipeline myself.
Okay. And by the way, they say Central Hudson receives its gas from a pipeline that is interconnected with hundreds of other pipelines in the Northeast. Because all pipelines connect, like highways, natural gas from many locations together before it reaches.
Like where you get your electricity, but the bulk of the gas that Central Hudson gets, not only for this plant, but for all their customers, is from the Iroquois pipeline.
But the Iroquois pipeline is not guaranteed non-fracking.
Isn't it true?
God, I felt like there were a lot of questions that I had that I didn't want to ask to Michelle because I don't want to know Michelle's canned answer. Do you know what I mean? And I don't necessarily know who the right.
Well, Haley Carlock should be able to give us something, right?
To ask is. Yeah, I mean, I hope that, I know Haley supposedly is the most informed. She's read every piece of paper that's ever
there we go.
about this. But I'm just curious if anyone has a thought about to whom some of those questions should be directed. I don't know.
Well, we have a long time. I think Ken's point is that there's a public commentary period in the Article 10 process. Now, has anyone besides me read any of the stipulations?
Ken, presumably, right?
Ken, of
Well, I've
course.
heard most of them.
Of course. I'm sorry, Ken. I meant, has anyone on the commission read any of the stipulations? They are real eyeball rollers, and they are mostly completely meaningless, but, just dotting T's and crossing I's, jumping through hoops that have to be jumped through because the state requires a lot of hoop jumping. So there's so much time for us to get into this. And I'm not convinced. So yeah, okay, Erin, absolutely. Iroquois pipeline may have frack gas in it. It's very likely. God knows they have tar sands up in Canada. They're not environmental, benefactors. But until Elon comes up with a solid state battery, or we do some real work on getting the cost of electricity generation down to the point where electrolyzing water into hydrogen and oxygen becomes a viable alternative, we're stuck with some drilled gas from somewhere, whether it's fracked or Gulf of Mexico.
Isn't it true to say basically that Dan-Scammer doesn't make any difference where we get the gas from or how much is burned? In fact, by having a new and more efficient power plant there, you're probably actually reducing the amount of gas that we're burning overall.
Absolutely.
Greatly.
Yeah.
On the money.
That's the whole point behind doing this, is that they're getting rid of 2 very bad plants.
On the flip side though, Nick, if you keep building really efficient gas power plants, we're going to be using gas power for a lot longer.
Well, not really, because that's one of the things Michelle said, though, is she said there's a 20-year moratorium on it. And so in the next 20 years, there's not supposed to be using, I heard her say, the natural gas. And in that meantime, there will be people trying to do more solar, more wind, and trying to do this green hydrogen. Because she talked about how creating the green hydrogen, when that can be done, that can replace the natural gas. So I did hear her say there's a 20-year deadline, so to speak, to get off it. Although she also said that could be extended if it just can't be done. But I didn't think it would be like a forever thing. She sounded like they have plans to convert to better ways over time.
Yeah,
So it's also very clear that the way this
works.
I'm sorry, Nick, let me just finish this. She was very clear that the way that the electricity generation works in the state is the Public Service Commission, Ken, that makes the calls and says, we need your plant online, bring your plant online?
No, that's NISO.
Okay, NISO. So NISO says, we need your plant online, bring your plant online. They go to they're supposed to go in whatever order they're supposed to go, whether it's greenest first or cheapest first, I don't know. But they're going to go, it's not Dan-Scammer's decision whether to go online or not. It's NISO's.
Right. They pull from solar and wind first, and then they, like you say, they pick the order they want, and the least efficient, most polluting will be the last to be called on to provide power.
That's why the existing.
But don't you all find it
plant
pretty
doesn't run
interesting that
anymore.
they did not seem at all nervous about whether there was going to be any demand for their services? It's like, once we get this in place, we're fine. That means to me that they're getting subsidized heavily. They don't even care.
No,
Right?
it means they have a cheaper price.
I'm sorry?
They'll outprice the other generators.
But
What I took that to mean was that they were newer and more efficient, and so they would be and cleaner, and so they would be called upon before some of the other power stations that are currently hefting the load.
Well, most of those companies make more of their money through the construction than they do from actually selling the energy.
Yeah. So Julia,
they don't give a shit if they keep.
Yeah. So Julia, I guess my question
I
is,
was very interested in Michelle. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So my question is,
I didn't understand why, if this is such an altruistic endeavor, like, why isn't someone else doing it?
Tax breaks. That when we were talking to Solar Generation about why they wanted to put up a solar array on the town parking lots and sell electricity to the town at way below what we were paying, the answer was that they were getting huge tax breaks by creating a capital structure now that could be rapidly depreciated, and they could write off the billions of dollars they were making in the stock market on a loss on the solar array. So you got to follow the money, and someone did that.
Can I comment, I think, on what Nick said? Not cutting anyone off. I think what you were touching on, Nick, was that this does seem like, Dan Scammer does seem better for the environment for the first 3 to 5 years, in that we won't be using antiquated facilities that are not as efficient and are badder for the environment. But after that 3 to 5 years, that's a big question mark. And that, to me, I don't feel comfortable with that, because that's where I initially had this conflict, because at first I was like, okay, it actually sounds better for the environment, but for 3 to 5 years. But then after that, we've committed to this plant. Who knows what kinds of legislation from the lobbyists are going to pass or not pass or get blocked in 3 to 5 years, because I've been around and I've seen unprecedented things happen. And then now we're committed, and now this plant's up and running, and now, oh well. And the talk of hydrogen, like I was trying to do some deep Googling onto hydrogen as a power source. It's like not out there. The supply is not out there. So that's where I struggled with this, where that's where I kind of started to think, okay, on the surface, it might look good, better for the environment, but for the long run, and the long run plays more to some of the other comments that you guys have said, that, maybe there's money to be made initially, whether it's through construction or whether it's through who knows, or whatever, but then they all walk away and we're living here and we have to deal with the aftermath of, great, now we've got this plant running, and I'm very concerned that it's on the Hudson, and what if, they're not cooling the water right, and ...
Yeah, well, I think that what my expectation is over the next 20 years is that there will be initiatives throughout the region or state, whatever, to be having more solar and having more wind and having more green. And just as that organization that says, which power am I going to call first, they're always going to call the greenest first. And there's probably going to be more green stuff coming on board. So,
but to argue the point, which okay, I'm not trying to argue with the point, but if we give a green light to a fossil fuel being used, and then 10 years down the road, they say, well, we don't have enough clean power, we may as well keep using the fossil fuel that we have up and running and going. Well, we've just shot our own foot, and we have to deal with it. But yeah, why should we support this, saying, well, it'll change to green in 10 years? I'd rather support green now.
Well, sure, but the thing is, green is going to be happening somewhere. It's not clear to me that supporting Dan Scammer is going to stop green elsewhere. If somebody wanted to have a huge solar array, it's not clear to me that having Dan Scammer is going to stop that. You're making it sound like it's an either or. I mean, Dan Scammer.
Well, if Dan Scammer is up and running, you have just created a demand for fracked gas.
But the alternative, though, is leaving the old plant in place.
Right. I agree, Ken. That scares me. I agree. Nick, I'm sorry, Nick.
In my view, replacing it's probably a better option, short term and longer term, no matter what happens.
And what the counties decide to do on their own as far as green. I mean, you can do a lot within a county. I mean, look what Germany's done. And that's a country. So there's ways that we can do things that can even it out. I do think that can happen, but it's not going to happen so quickly, particularly because we're going to spend the next 5 years on what this schmuck just did in the last 3 years. So just keep that in mind too.
Arlene, you cut out there.
I just said
I heard the schmuck part.
Yeah. I just said we're going to be spending the next 5 years fixing what this schmuck just did in the last 3 years.
Well, there you go.
You can refer to him as ONI, our national idiot.
Well, I like that. Anyway, back to my question to Julia. So I have a next steps question to Julia. So we've had the wonderful presentation yesterday from Dan Scammer. There's a presentation coming up on the 26th. So is the plan that when the WC reconvenes at the next meeting, probably there'll be more of this discussion to try to perhaps make a decision, right?
That's right.
So this is good. So this group is still gathering information, and
oh, absolutely. I don't see stopping this conversation at all. I just think we'll keep going until we come to the conclusion of what's the best thing to do. right?
Okay.
I see stopping this conversation. I have lobster and corn and champagne
All
waiting
right,
downstairs.
tonight, we get it, Okay.
Champagne.
All right.
Wow,
All right,
that's
let's,
What do you think?
move
What do you
on
think this
then.
is? It's a champagne glass.
we're gonna
Ah.
be
Your
in
life,
house.
David. Oh my God.
Right. We saw that you were served.
Mostly
personally.
red wine.
Pretty impressive. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'm
really
let's
drinking
spend
red
a
wine.
few minutes on the possibility of doing a new website.
So wait,
Alex,
we're tabling this for now. After
we are
vigorous
tabling it
discussion, we're
for now.
tabling.
We should come back to the next meeting, having already seen that presentation from Haley Carlock and
Okay.
having more ideas of what to do.
I just want to say one thing. I did leave a message for Evelyn. She's the woman who Maxine threw out a lot of good resources. And
Yeah.
I did do Evelyn, Dr. Evelyn, I forget her last name, looks like a really good subject matter expert. So I did start the ball rolling and getting in touch with her.
Thank
So
you.
wait,
That's
just
great.
before we go on,
Yeah.
is either Kathy or Stephanie here to comment on this matter?
Sorry, what?
They're both on mute at the
We
moment.
have Kathy and Stephanie here. I thought one or both of them was here to comment specifically on Dance Scammer.
They wanted to hear what we have to say, I think.
Oh, okay, fine.
Or unless you guys want to say something.
Stephanie, you're muted.
You just invited me to listen in. I have no education about this at all. I was just shocked to hear that we were going to be, I guess there was an email going around that a friend had sent me presenting this issue, and that everybody should get involved and start talking and educating ourselves about what the issue is. And so here I am.
Thank you, Kathy. So if
Yeah,
you want to
no,
do
thank
some reading
you.
in the meantime, we would love to have you back at our next meeting if you
Thank
want
you
to say
so much.
something.
And I'm, as I explained, I had a crazy day, so I'm going to check out, but it was very interesting. And I look forward to learning more about this issue. Thank you. Thank you, Erin.
Thanks, Kathy, for joining.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks for your interest.
Good night,
Appreciate it.
everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay,
And
bye.
I'll say goodnight as well, and thank you so much for your service and what you're doing for the community. It's great to hear the very diverse conversation.
Thanks for joining us, Kathy and Stephanie. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Well,
Stephanie.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question before we move on, just to get it into the notes? It's not a question. It's a question I would like to know the answer to eventually, but if I don't get it down, I won't remember. So just because Aaron and Nick were having this discussion about replacing the old plants, which I agree with is important, and Aaron was saying we have to think about the long run. So I guess, David, I'm using you as my note rememberer. But because you're gonna have to write it down now. But if there's some way that at some point we remember to ask someone or find out, like how long it would take using alternative energy sources to replace those other two plants before we got sucked into having this permanently here. You know, is it like 2 years before solar catches up? Is it 20 years? Is it, how long is that going to be? What would the overlap window be?
You're talking about Roseton and that other one?
Yeah, so part of obviously their argument, and it's a super valid one, is that we want to replace the older, dirtier plants. They set it up like it's sort of a dichotomy of like this versus that, but is there, when are other options going to be available? What's the time frame? Someone must know some kind of answer to this. You know,
Alex, I think a more intellectually honest
So
way
they
to
did
frame
have
that
something-
question would be, how long are you willing to say we're going to do without air conditioning in the summer or heating in the winter, because we are not willing to use hydrocarbon sources for our energy? Because
It's a good question, but it's a good
One of the
question. So
things
maybe
you
we
can do,
should
you can
just
get solar
table
arrays.
it, or
I'm practically off the grid. You know, I'm not using those things. So I mean, I
right. So
understand them work
David, I think
anyway,
that's
but
not really an
there are
answer
other
to her
options,
question.
you know?
On their site,
It's not an answer, it's a question. I'm posing a different question. The question is, if you're saying, well, we're willing, how long will it take us to catch up to current levels of energy production if we wait until green energy becomes available? What do you do with the shortfall in energy for those 2 or 3 years or 5 years or 10? I don't know. I'm totally in favor of.
No, not that, the question isn't that we would shut them down. The question is, how long does it seem like it would be before we could replace them with another option that is not this plant? So are we saying yes to something as a Band-Aid for a short-term problem that we're now going to have for 50 years? Or are we saying yes to something that's going to keep us going really more cleanly for 50 years? Like, what is the time frame for getting rid of some of that other stuff?
New York timeframe specified in the CLCPA law. I mean, they've outlined how many wind turbines they're going to install and how many solar panels they're going to install over the next 10 years.
So can I talk for a second?
Yeah, please, Arlene.
Okay, to produce the amount of power through wind or solar that they expect to get from Danskammer would take between 10,000 to 20,000 acres of land, is what they figure. Nonetheless, they say, I'm just telling you what they're saying here. Danskammer is committed to pursuing the installation of battery storage in the existing plant building post-modernization. So they're going to look at battery storage as one of the newer form of battery that Elon Musk is trying to develop as one of the alternatives. But solar and wind don't seem like they're options they're looking at all as an alternative.
Well, they can't.
No, they're looking at battery storage in the same way they looked at, does anyone remember Storm King? The Storm King controversy, aside from Ken, of course, I know you remember that, Ken. But they were going to cut off the top of Storm King.
I remember all these controversies.
I remember
Con
that.
Edison, Con Ed was going to cut off the top of Storm King Mountain, one of the most beautiful mountains in the valley, and they were going to pump water. When they had lots of energy during the day, they were going to pump water up to the top of Storm King, and then at night, when they didn't have energy, they were going to let the water run down through a turbine and generate energy. It's all energy storage. It's you can have turbines that are like gyroscopes that spin rapidly and store energy during times of overproduction. You can have batteries that do it during times of overproduction. You can have hydrogen. There's all sorts of technologies that are available theoretically, and the question is bringing the theory into reality so that we can have it to give us energy in 2 years or 5 years instead of 50 years.
And New York State is already doing that with their power and energy group. They're doing it at most of the reservoirs and a lot of the a lot of the lakes in New York State, that they're doing that kind of energy. But it's not enough.
Yeah, and Alex, even if somebody gave me a guarantee, I wouldn't believe them. I mean, even if you got that answer from somebody, who's going to really know? And projects like that, there's so many obstacles. Some of these projects are so big, and you get, I'm a professional project manager. And how many times do you get a date? I don't give a date till I'm sure of the date. A lot of people give a date that people want to hear, and then reality is like a lot different. So even if somebody gave an answer to your question, I wouldn't believe it till I saw it. I'm just saying.
But, New York State has put the plan in place. The CLCPA specifies what we're going to do. And there's a white paper that's come out that explains how we're going to do it. I mean, the answer's there, whether you believe it or not, that's another question. But, it's been laid out.
But getting there is something else. Laying out a white paper with a plan is different from the implementation.
Well, once you start talking about 10,000 acres for solar, you'll find people aren't so enthusiastic about solar.
Yeah, but if you talk about putting a solar array on every goddamn building in the city so that the city can supply itself with a lot more energy that it uses instead of relying on us to provide them with energy, or Canada, there's a lot of ways to increase the intelligence that you bring to the problem. So I just want to point out, I can hear my lobster claws hacking away downstairs.
That's the problem they're now having in California, because these solar arrays, they work right during the day when the sun is shining. But about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun goes down and everyone wants to keep their air conditioning running. They run out of gas. And they shut down their gas turbines and so on, the nuclear power plants, and they're having blackouts now.
I know.
Maybe I'll
Bob, do you want to say anything about any of this?
Fans.
Bob, yeah.
It's interesting to me. I don't know enough about the project to comment one way or the other. You know, my knee-jerk reaction, of course, is to oppose it. But that's my knee-jerk reaction. Like David said, there's more to this, and it sounds like there's a voluminous amount of paper out there that that requires a lot of research. So those are my thoughts. I'm just kind of taking it all in on this issue.
Okay, all right.
I thought this has been a very intelligent conversation. You guys have really done a lot of good work and really got into it, and you know.
It's tough.
I'm gonna give us a round of applause.
Yeah, there we go.
You really do deserve yourself a round of applause for the, I mean, I've been working on this for like 3 years, so I have a little bit more background in it, but you know, you've really come up to speed real fast on some of the issues.
Thanks, Ken. That's very kind of you to
Thank
say that.
That's nice. All right. Do we have enough energy to move on? All
Please.
right.
Can we take a break?
Alex,
I'll
you
eat my
brought to our
lobster and
attention-
corn.
What? You want to go to your dinner, I know.
No. Come on, I can wait. I'm
All right.
usually I eat
All
later.
right. Alex, you brought to our attention that great website. So I think what we have here is an opportunity to maybe come up with a brochure, and then we have an opportunity to come up with a website that is outside of the town of Woodstock. And then we have an opportunity to try to influence the town of Woodstock. But I did speak with Ashley, who's on the call, of course, and she was kind enough to let me know that they have looked into other opportunities and other options for the town's website. But right now, what they have is the best for a number of reasons. So they're probably not going to change that anytime soon. So we have an opportunity to maybe come up with a brochure that Ashley could post for us. That would be something that we would have instead of, you know, right now we have the green guide is a PDF that's on our webpage. But this brochure could be lots of really good answers for Woodstock for people who come to the website. Is that something you want to pursue? Anyone? No. Okay. All right. Do we want to think more about that and move on for the moment? Does anyone want to say anything, or should we just move on?
I'm gonna say that updating the green guide seemed like a good idea, and so
You think so? I was shot down for that, the last one. I think Aaron said, no, that's really old-fashioned.
Oh,
We don't do books anymore.
no, Julia, you tried to say I volunteered for it, and I was like, no.
No. I did not say.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not suggesting we go in and edit the green guide that we have to produce a more updated version of the same thing. I like your idea of a brochure, which would look much more like the website that Alex produced, found, with brief and punchy and relevant information on it. And so you would have a series of one-pagers on important issues that we want to cover. That would be readily convertible into a website when we have something that a platform that we could which we can mount it on. So I think the opportunity is there to take the content from the green guide and edit it down to a great extent, basically, and produce something which is briefer and to the point and much more digestible, and which we could publish and hand out in lieu of having a website.
Nick, did I just hear you volunteering to take that project on?
Sounded like that to me.
See?
It sounded like that to me. Yeah.
So
I think that's a
the hands are
good
down.
idea. I think it's a good idea for us to collaborate on down the road.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think this is a good idea, and I'm prepared to put some time and effort and organization into it if you'd like.
You know, I came up with, it's really very basic stuff, but it's a page, and it was my ideas of things we could start out with. It's really basic and nothing, but I'll send it around, okay? So it'll be like the straw man, okay? I'll send that around, okay.
Nick, when you looked at that website, or anyone, do you think that Woodstock has enough of the information to follow up with with that stuff in it? That was one of my questions. Like, I liked how when you clicked on it, there were like all of these resources. Do you think we have a similar amount that we can share with people, or do we need to start sourcing some of that stuff?
That seems like a very good question, actually. There was a lot of references in the Green Guide itself, but of course that's 12 years out of date at this point, really. And so a lot of the effort in terms of producing this content would be researching and producing, the citations that we need for that with the background information.
But in terms of the local resources, we have our own Facebook page. We have the Pollinator Pathway. We have Woodstock Transition New York, Woodstock Land Conservancy, UCRA. There are a few that we can point to and be pretty proud of. So let me pass around that page. That'll be step one. And then we'll come back to the next meeting with a few more ideas. Okay.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah,
Okay.
very good.
All right, thanks. Okay, next. The culvert meeting. Let's just move on, right?
Yeah, I wrote it
Yeah.
up. That was it. We're done.
We're done. We're moving on. David, RFPs for solar arrays. Do you want to say anything about that?
Put me on the clock, 2 minutes. The question is not whether Woodstock needs renewable sources of electricity for its own town needs. The question.
Cutting out?
Yep. Yeah. The question is, does Woodstock have an opportunity to increase the supply of green energy in the universe and make some money for the town? And the answer is, we have a couple of sites where solar arrays could be put, the 2 parking lots off of Rock City Road,
Right.
and possibly the old landfill. So if you get people to pay us to put up solar arrays, then the town is getting money from those people, and we have green energy that someone, not the town, someone is generating that's available for sale to people wherever. So why not have the town put out an RFP? It's town property. If they want to let someone put up a solar array, it has to be done through an RFP. So why not do it? Period. That's it. I've spoken.
David, what am I
Nothing
going to
else
say in
I think
response to that?
You're going to say we already have green energy.
No, I already said, think hard what I'm going to say about what you just said.
I'm sorry.
Which I've already.
Too much champagne.
Is it the WEC's mission to generate funds for the town? To generate revenue?
No, but it's the WEC's position to make the world a better place environmentally.
And we're trying to do that one step at a time, and we already have solar.
Yeah, so why not get more solar?
Okay, but there's other things we could focus on, and whatever. I
I
just
think
don't think we're in the business of trying to generate money for the town.
I take your point, and all I'm saying is, leaving aside the generating the money, it's all we got to do is ask the town to put out some RFPs, and then that's our work, and we've done it. We can move on to all these other things on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any
Economic
sentiment in
statement that Dan
favor of?
Scanner having our own solar would be a more pungent statement than something that the town puts out opposing it.
Well, Dan Scammer said they'd be totally open to having solar panels on their roofs and parking lots, and that's what they should say. So, do we have any? Do we going to just leave it at that for now, or are we going to vote to?
Well, what are the next steps, David? So, what are the next steps? So, for RFPs for solars, haven't you already gone to the town and asked them for RFPs?
Yeah,
like a year ago.
And they thought we were then looking at generating electricity for ourselves, and they took a look at the hydro that we were already using and said we don't need to do this for ourselves. So they were in the same loop that we keep on getting into about we don't need it for ourselves. Fine, we don't need it for ourselves, conceded. But the town is interested in making money because I'm a taxpayer. I'm interested in lowering my tax bills, and I, as a WEC member, I'm sure as hell interested in generating energy. So
David?
I think the thing to do is go to the town board and say, would you please put out an RFP for these 2 sites?
Could we earmark the savings that we got from that solar for green projects in the town?
I don't know.
No.
Because that would be
So
like,
just to remind everybody, we have a solar and a geothermal installation in town, and the town is getting energy from solar and geothermal. The town
Right.
And
hall.
hydro. And
yes,
hydro.
I do know that, but what I'm talking about is if we use these and took the proceeds, if the town was agreeable to taking those proceeds and using it towards other green projects that we have earmarked.
I think it's a great idea. I just don't think it's what the WEC is supposed to do. I think the town board is not, I mean, we're stepping on their toes. That's what I think.
Okay,
But that's just
what
my
I'm just
opinion.
asking. I'm asking.
No, no, it's a great question. It's a great idea, I think, but.
Laura, do you have an opinion about that?
I was on mute. I was hiding.
Were you listening?
I know. Well, I guess there's a time and place for everything. And I understand David's point that wouldn't it be great for Woodstock to be helping the world get more green energy by having solar panels wherever we could conveniently do it or practically do it. I don't know if this is going to be a time that, you know, there's so much that the town is kind of struggling with right now, and the budget issues, and you know, there's just, it seems to be a lot going on just in the world. I don't know if they're going to be latching on at this instant in time. You know, so far, again, because the town itself, for our own purposes, has gone and found that that hydro plant, who by partnering with them, we are getting some discounts. Yeah, that's when the town said, well, we're not so excited about doing all these solar projects for our own use. I hear David's point. I don't know if it's going to resonate right now because, you know, the whole country's in shock over a lot of stuff right now. So I don't know if the time, I'm not sure if you get traction if you put it forward now. That's my honest opinion, but you know, you might. But there's just a lot of, you know, horrible stuff going on in the world right now that we're all trying to just stay alive, for starters. So I think this is a great idea. You know, I hear your idea. Would it get traction right now? My sense is, I don't know if this is the right time for that idea, but maybe it would get traction. I can't say it wouldn't get traction, but there's just a lot of focus, a lot of things the town board's focused on right now.
So is it the sense of the commission that we don't want to pursue this as a commission, but it's perfectly okay for me to go to the town board as a private citizen, a member of the WEC, but not speaking for the WEC, and saying, I think this is a good idea because you can you're making money and you're doing a mitzvah.
I think that would be terrific.
How are you making money again? How are you making money again, David? You're making money because these solar
developers
panels,
pay rent. They rent the space at the parking lot, and they rent the space at the landfill. And rent is usually money. And they pay us money as rent, and then we have it.
So
and then our taxes go down.
So David, and just to clarify, I think, you know, the idea of solar, you know, I think it's a great idea. I really do. And I don't want to come across as that, but here's my question. Why not ask the companies like Solar Generation or whoever who would have a dog in the race, right? But they have potential to make money. Why not ask them to pursue this? And let them do all the
town property, and legally, if the town rents the property, it has to do it through an RFP. Is that
But what I'm saying is, you know, these companies stand to make money. Have them, you know, explore the RFP, explore the process, explore starting it. Let them go to the site. You have to have if the town landfill, you have to have the EPA sign off on it. Like, have them check off the list and say this needs to be done and that needs to be done.
Not the way it works.
But that's how it starts. The way it starts is the town puts out an RFP, a request for proposals, and the proposals are made, and they have to do the research. Right. They have to do their due diligence.
Didn't you already submit an RFP about this?
I don't know.
Yes, you did.
I think that David gave us something, but it wasn't really it wasn't a complete RFP. But let me, what I like about Erin's idea, I heard everybody just shoot her down, but what I like about Erin's idea is if there were a company that said, hey, you know, I think I could have a win-win here, but because, you know, I could do this, I think your site is perfect for what we're looking for. I mean, because, for example, even that natural power group that came with their, with a hydro plan that the town did buy into, I don't recall us doing an RFP for that. I recall that coming towards us and somebody saying, hey, we've got this win-win idea. So I like what Erin said, because if a company were to come to the town and say, hey, I've got a win-win idea, here's my idea for how solar would work in your area. If the town puts out the RFP, it's saying that the town is pushing for this, and then
Laura, you don't understand what an RFP is. An RFP is saying, do you want to rent this property for the purpose of putting up a solar array? Now, solar generation did come to us. They were the one. That's where we got this whole idea in the beginning, was to put about putting up
carports.
About putting up arrays at the parking lots. They said, this is a great idea. We can make money, you can make money, and you can save money on electricity. So the town just can't say what. Solar generation comes to us and says, I got this great idea. And the town said, great, here's a contract, a rental contract. Go ahead and put up the arrays. No, you can't do that. You got competitive bidding. What RFP does, it starts the bidding process.
And then the town came to us and said, so get an RFP out. And then David, all by himself, spent weeks and weeks putting that thing together.
Months.
Yeah. Months and months. It was horrendous.
But what happened with the RFP that David gave them?
The town decided not to pursue it because we were already getting electricity from hydro, from Wappingers. And there was no environmental reason for the town to do it. There may have been, so I'm going to pursue this privately.
Good, thank you. Thank you, David. All right, moving on to the Zumpus application. Jim Hansen called me. He said he'd heard from Peter Cross. This thing is heating up. This is a big deal. It's you remember that it's the on Chestnut Hill Road. It's 60 acres. They wanted to subdivide into 5 lots. It's, according to Jim, it's about 60% wetlands. This is a terrible, terrible idea. So you have all seen lots of paperwork. I'm sure you haven't had a chance to take a look. Please dip in, take a look if you can. We're going to be asked for sure to comment on this, to be a big part of it. So it's coming our way. Okay.
Great.
That's all we really need to say tonight.
I have one question about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if somebody on the call knows, I'm just throwing it out there. When I was looking at the plans, they had marked places for wildlife and natural habitat to cross. How does that get enforced? Like, how do they tell the wildlife this is where you can cross?
It's bullshit.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering how they enforce that.
The plans I saw involved the driveways being raised and culverts being placed underneath to allow the wildlife to go across without crossing the road and the risk of being run down by drivers and that kind of thing. So that's what the plan said. Whether we consider that to be bullshit or not, I really have to go to the site and have a look.
Depends on where they put them, how high they put them, and what kind of animals really they're protecting.
Right, and a wolf or a puma decides it's going to go over the road instead of through the culvert. The wolf or the puma is going to do whatever it wants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, indeed, and it's not a big problem really, unless it's for larger animals like that, unless there's a huge amount of traffic on the driveways. But to answer your question, Arian, I think if you some of the materials that were circulated back in February or March contain details of what these culverts would look like. And so I can have a go and dig out what I remember reading about it if you want to have a little look more about that.
So Nick and
ultimately, a site visit is what we need to do and what we will have to do,
yeah, that's right.
And it'll be a really great opportunity to get to turn a theoretical thing into reality.
Yeah, Jim will be part of it. He wants to be part of it, and that's good. He reached out to Ingrid Heckel and got some ideas from her. I circulated that as well.
Yeah, I read those.
All right, fine. All right, new business. Ken, did you want to say anything about the drinking water source protection program, or not? Maybe not.
Wasn't prepared to. I mean.
No. Okay.
Okay. Table.
I just wanted to acknowledge it and thank you for your presentation to the town board.
Periodically on my monthly reports.
Yeah, that's right. You really did report on it in there. Okay.
We gave a presentation to the town board and to the zoning revision committee.
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Essentially, talking about the new map that we just developed in the NRI, and you all got a write-up on that. and talking about the work we did with the nitrates on the sewer system. And I think you've all got that report when we published it. So, you know, at this point, we're you know, we were ready to go into do more, but all of a sudden I got more assignments on this natural resource inventory, having to do with the beaver kill and little beaver kill and a few other things. So it kind of pushed off what I had planned to do this week and next week and the week after.
Okay, thank you, Ken. So Bob, thank you for sitting in on this whole thing. I don't know if you have any questions, comments, anything to say.
I think my background, I could probably have some expertise that could help on some of these issues. You guys have a lot on your plate, it seems like, at least tonight you did. So I remain interested and see how I could contribute and
That'd be
help
great.
things
Would
along
you
here.
be willing to put together a very brief bio and submit that to us? That would be part of the next steps, if you're interested, would be submit a bio, then the town board would actually interview you.
Okay.
Yeah, we reach out. I think in these days of coronavirus, we talked a little bit about this. So what most likely would happen is by you having a bio, and we did publicize, I did ask several times at town board meetings, publicize this, and it did eventually get publicized. And so the idea of the bio is just a little information on you, because then if there's anybody else who submits a bio for the one position that's open, then town board members can reach out. In these days of coronavirus, you know, in normal days, we would have an interview and you'd come into the town offices and we'd chat with you. But in these days of coronavirus, it's more likely that some town board members may reach out by phone and just reach out one by one to talk with you. So the bio just is to kind of give them a little bit of background. You know, we don't need a 6-page thing, but you have a couple of paragraphs. You know, people will know something about you before they pick up the phone and call.
No problem.
Okay.
I can email that to you the next day or two.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks
Sounds
for letting me in
great.
tonight.
So Bob, please send that to me and be sure to include your phone number on it, okay?
Sure.
All right, sounds great. Thank you all. I think that is it. Okay. It's
Aaron?
8:28.
Did you see the updates on the website?
I'm sorry?
I was talking to Aaron.
Oh.
Well, we got a couple updates on the on Pledge Element 2, because we talked about this before you joined.
Yeah. Oh, no.
They, you know, they approved our greenhouse gas emissions inventory system.
Okay.
So it's only 2 things so far that's been.
Okay. Well, yeah, Ken and I were talking about it. We noticed last time that like it's the cutoff is Friday, and like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is when they seem to kind of look at everything.
Yeah, it's sort of a rolling rollout.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'll look at it right after the call. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
Okay, good night, everyone. I'm just going to have to open another bottle of champagne. That's all there is to it. I hope
Bye,
you enjoy your
everyone.
evening.
29,
Bye.
meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.